My name is Clay Houston, and my wife's name is Julie. We started the Blackland Home Inspections in 2005.
Mhm. Correct.
So, Julie, why did we get in the business?
We had a horrible first experience buying a home that was in the suburbs of Chicago. And the home inspector was like, "Oh, yeah, everything is fine. The fuses are fine. The furnace is great. Everything's good." Like, he didn't really have any red flags for us. And with that, the day we moved in, we looked, and the main fuse that the furnace was on had blown. And then we noticed that there was a leak coming from above the kitchen sink. He went into the attic and fell through the ceiling. So it was the one thing after another after another. We moved to Texas, bought a newer home, had a great inspection, and that guy mentored Clay into the business and helped him get to where we are now. Clay operated under his name, Clay Houston Home Inspections, for the first 10 years. When he got into it, he was doing construction beforehand, and he kind of got fed up with his bosses and things like that. And he's like, "I'm done babysitting. I'm done dealing with bosses. I'm going to be my own boss." He was coaching one of our kids in soccer at the time. He's like, "This will give me freedom."
Did y'all hear the joke that I got into business because I was going to have all this time? I mean, come on, I'm talking to business owners here. Y'all got tons of time on your hands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was not the case. I owned a job, and that job owned me.
And I'm more of the financial person in this duo. So when he told me that he was going to be quitting his job to do it full time, because first year he did it part time, I was a little nervous. I was like, I need that steady income, because by that time we had 3 boys and living paycheck to paycheck. And then he got busier and busier. As I said, I ended up becoming a stay-at-home mom by the time we had 5. And with that, after about 2 years, he's like, "Julie, I'm losing work because we do rural areas," and he would have no cell service, get out of an inspection, check his voicemail, would have 3 voicemails, call all of them back, and they had already booked with somebody else. So he's like, "I need you to answer phones." And so he's like, "If you don't do it, I'm going to hire somebody else." So that's how I came on board at the end of 2014, started doing some social media posts for him and started just answering phones for him. At the time, again, I was a penny pincher and didn't want to spend any money on anything. So he wanted to do some coaching at the time. I said no. He wanted to use ISN. I said no. And so we were literally scheduling everything out of a notebook. And that's kind of how we got started. And then finally, he sent me to a conference on becoming a multi-inspector firm. I saw people using ISN. I'm like, "Okay, Clay, yeah, we have to use this." And just kind of jumped on board with some of it. And we were with a different coaching community at the time, and weren't getting what we needed from it. We struggled with some bad hires. We had some okay hires, but we just really struggled during that time period. And then finally in 2021, I'd been seeing posts about IEB and things like that. And I know they had contacted Clay when they first started, and I was just like, I can't afford that. And so we just kind of looked at it and we're like, you know what, we do need something. So they used to have a program called RGT, and it was all about changing your mindset. And that was very impactful to us. And we immediately signed up and went to a fall mastermind that was right after we signed up. And to me, the community has been great as far as helping us learn how to hire the right people, what to look for. It helped us create a culture within our organization. It helped us determine who we want to hire, and then just also has developed us individually as business owners. It's really helped us transition from owning a business and running a business as opposed to having a job. So that's kind of been what's been impactful. And then just the amount of training that is done within the community. We've added services, we've added different aspects, and the things that I never would have thought of on my own because of the people in the community. So that's kind of why we got into the business overall. So was it was originally going to be for some time freedom for Clay, which didn't happen. It happened in the beginning because you're trying to build a business, but we didn't know exactly how to build that business at the time. Now, when we have slow times, we're working on the business instead of in it.
For me, it was I had tried hiring some people, and I was failing miserably in the hiring area department for hiring inspectors. And I know I needed help because I couldn't keep up. I was losing work because I couldn't keep up. And so I knew I needed some coaching on how to hire. And then I virtually did not understand numbers, and I did not understand why I needed to understand numbers at the time. So that was one of the things I didn't know what I did. But at the time, I think for me, mostly why I was looking for coaching Well, how do I hire someone? That was the question I was personally trying to answer because the hiring of inspectors was falling completely on me, and I had failed miserably a couple of times, and I knew it was costing too much money to keep trying it the way I was trying it.
For me, it was that I wanted to grow the company because once I became a stay-at-home mom, whenever my whole family, for the most part of the time, was in Chicago, and we live in Dallas area. So now, if we took a vacation with a family of 7, driving up to Chicago, we had the cost of the trip, and we had no vacation pay and no income coming in because he can't work if he's on vacation. So that's when I made the decision, like, we need to grow this company, Clay. Even though he never wanted to grow the company, I said we had to grow the company. And the community that we had been part of in the past, it was just the same stuff over and over, and it really wasn't helping us move the needle. It wasn't teaching us the things that we needed to grow the company and form a company, really. Like, as I said, we owned jobs. We didn't own or operate a business. And when we went to the first event with IEB, I realized it was going to help us do those things. And I've worked in corporate America. Like, I've worked for real estate investment companies, real estate property management companies. I worked for our church as a controller and business manager. So I've worked in those things, and I still didn't learn what I've learned in IEB from those companies. Like, I didn't really have culture, company culture, or didn't know mission statements and things like that. I've learned a new vocabulary in IEB, that is like, wow, this is how we can keep people accountable for what they're doing. So for me, it was to grow as a person and to be a better businesswoman than what I had been doing. Ever since I joined him, I was moving our needle 20% every year for a while. We rode the wave of COVID, and then things started slowing down, and I was like, okay, we need to do something different, and I need fresh ideas. What else can we do? And things like that to increase our revenues and increase our company and become bigger. And honestly, there's times where we felt like we were drinking from a fire hose. And, so I kind of just took a year of just absorbing everything. And then last year I started implementing things, and we had the best year ever last year, where a lot of companies, were trying to tell me like, oh, we can't beat 2020. And I was like, no, I want to beat 2020. And they thought I was crazy. They're like, that was such an anomaly year. And I had my goal, and I hit it. We surpassed our number of inspections. We hit our revenue goal that we had in mind, and which surpassed any year. So that's kind of the reason. I saw that when I went to my first event in IEB of other companies and talking about their successes. And we're like, that's what we want to do.
Man, the support here is, I would say it's everlasting. I think that's the term I want to use on that. I can contact anyone in this business, and excuse me, in this coaching community at any level. We're talking from the single man shop to the and I'm not exaggerating here, over $10 million revenue business, and ask any question I want, and I can get the answer. Or if I just need some back office support, hey, what are y'all doing in this situation? I can even get the documents that I need. I only have to recreate them. I'll give an example. I talked about hiring. I did not know how to hire an individual for a position, and one of the enterprise, which is the top level, couples that own a business over on the East Coast, they have a whole series on how to hire. I use their model, and I still use it today, to how to hire someone and hire the right people for the position. And I now have the best team I've ever had. So that's just one example of what I'm talking about, is that when you ask me what do I get out of it, I get out of it what I put into it. I will say that too. So I can get anything I need, but it's a two-way street. If somebody needs something from me, it's a two-way street. I give it right back.
And we didn't really talk about how big our team is. So we have 3 full-time inspectors right now, and then we have somebody who's answering phones. But Clay's main thing is that he wanted to get out of the field. And so after one of the conferences, one of the hire companies, asked him, he's like, well, when are you going to be out of the field? And he wanted Clay to put down a date. So, and then he held him accountable to that date. And, it's one of those things that the community really helps hold us accountable. It helps push us forward. And that's kind of the biggest thing that I've gotten out of it. And friendships too. I mean, just everlasting friendships. As he said, it could be at any level. And it's helped us also financially, just learning, I'm reading more than I had ever read before. The coaching community is really big on reading books, business books, and it's helped us. Like, we had a goal to personally to take our family to Europe for a religious voyage, and with what we've learned in this community, we were able to save the money for that trip all out last year, and now it's just a matter of scheduling the trip that we need to do. But we want to have a few things in place with our people before we feel comfortable going overseas on that trip. So, but we were able to save that money aside from our regular everyday living, and I'm talking about, over $50,000 that we were able to save last year for this trip. So it's not something like it was a small amount. I'm talking about taking 8 people to Europe. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without this coaching community and learning the things that I've learned.